YouTube, hey there, Casey Dimon here, TaxSaleAcademy.com. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of the Tax Sale Podcast. If you enjoy podcasts, check us out, TaxSalePodcast.com. But if you prefer to watch us right here on YouTube, then just sit tight. But let me know by clicking that thumbs up button. And also, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking that red subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on future tax sale training videos. Let's go ahead and record that audio podcast right now. Welcome to the Tax Sale Podcast, where tax sale investing is made easy. My name is Casey Dimon. I'm a tax sale veteran, the leading tax sale expert. I am the author of the Tax Sale Playbook, founder of the Tax Sale Academy, and I'm your host right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast episode. As a reminder, this is a completely free podcast, and it is brought to you through the Tax Sale Academy. If you're looking to learn more about investing in tax default real estate, just head on over to TaxSaleAcademy.com. On today's podcast episode, I want to discuss finding your niche or your niche, however you want to pronounce it, right? So I've discussed many times before, but the strategy of getting into this business solely to buy properties at one price and sell them at another price is vague at best and useless at worst. I've mentioned numerous strategies used by myself and a number of other investors, including many of my students here on this podcast and over on my YouTube channel. If you've listened to my particular story, you know my niche, right? It's evolved over the years, but a good majority of my business has been me going from one auction to the next auction in multiple states across the country. And when I use the term going, this used to mean physically going there, traveling from one auction to the next, but now it's really a mixture of in-person and online type auctions. So I go from one auction to the next, and I'll typically only buy one property, maybe two if that. I'll cherry pick the very best properties based on my objectives. Now those objectives will pinpoint the property that I should buy to allow me to facilitate my goal of selling that property very quickly to somebody on my buyer's list. This list, curated over many, many years, allows me to eliminate the time and the cost expense of marketing every single tax sale property. Now, usually the properties that I purchase will be vacant land, although I do have buyers prearranged in some areas for smaller homes. But these buyers are investors that don't have the effort, experience, or knowledge when it comes to tax sales. So what this does, it allows me to sell my properties to them very quickly at below market rates. It's really a win-win for everybody, right? It's a quick sell and they get instant equity. That's the basics behind how I operate. That's my niche that I operate in. Now, others will only do owner finance deals in one specific county. Some will travel the country buying only commercial structures. Some will want only mobile homes. There are a number of different angles you can take with this. There's a saying that, although cheesy, I'm constantly reminded of, the riches are in the niches, right? Now, the truth is that if you're chasing every single property type, looking for anything and everything that's going to make you 1 penny or 100 pennies or whatever it is, right? You're probably going to be chasing for a while. Stop chasing properties just to make money. Stop chasing everything. Don't just go at it with a shotgun blanket type approach, hoping something works, right? You're going to find something that'll work with that approach at some point. But your business likely won't grow until you narrow down your focus. And in the meantime, you're going to be running around like crazy trying to find something, anything that'll work for you with that shotgun method. So focus on one thing. Narrow down your focus. Let's talk about a few ways you can do that. The first thing that I suggest is you actually start backwards. So personally, I like the idea of doing a higher quantity of properties with possibly slightly lower margins that I can sell very, very quickly. Now, this means I have to handle everything myself, right? Curating that buyer's list, marketing to them, closing them, the whole 9 yards. Others might just want to be able to buy a property, hand it off to a realtor, and let that realtor handle everything, right? Either way can be successful. I'm not knocking anything, but figure out how you want your investment to end first. That's your first step. Now, by doing that, you can begin to narrow down your niche based on the requirements to sell the way you want to sell. So for example, if I'm selling everything myself, that means the prices are usually going to be lower than the properties that I would be selling through realtors with, right? If I'm closing it myself, that means title insurance is not going to be available, right? Which means there is no suit to quiet title to pay for or to wait on. All this equates to a lower valued property that, yes, is going to have some title issues. And the person that I'm selling this to is not going to spend 150 grand with me, right? Instead, they want the cheaper properties, and they'll usually be the ones that are at least somewhat risk tolerant. On the flip side, if you're selling through a realtor with a hands-off approach, you're going to have clear title. You're going to get market value for that property, and you're likely going to sell it to an end user, somebody that's going to use that property. That's a different ball game there. That's a property type that might be a little bit more expensive, that might require more capital, more time, but it could produce larger results. Now, when we go back another step, let's look at the property type based on what we've discussed so far with your available capital, okay? This is where we start to get extremely realistic with your approach. If you're expecting to get top dollar through a realtor, you're going to need to be able to buy a property that has potential. Then you need to be able to clear that title, and possibly you might have to remodel a little bit, okay? But if you're starting with $500, that is not possible. So if your expectations up to this point don't match up to the reality of your budget, go back and readjust. Again, start from the very end. Start from the result you want and work your way back. If you only have $500, you're going to need to start with those cheap properties, which will require a slightly different skill set and method to sell. Nothing wrong with that at all here. It's also time to start looking at what's available in the areas that you're thinking about investing in. Now, if your desired property type, based on everything from the end moving forward this direction, if that property type does not exist in the area that you want to invest in, you have one of two options. You can change your desired property type and modify your selling objectives and that end result, of course. Or you can find another area to invest in that might meet your selling objectives. In my case, I wanted to find the best properties for my buyers list in one area. When I realized that amounted to just one or two properties a month, I realized also my income suddenly had a ceiling attached to it. This required me to go to another market and another. Eventually, I realized I could do this all around the country. So I changed the areas that I purchased properties in to meet my selling objectives. I expanded my market area. Now, frequency is something else that many people tend to struggle with. Some states will have auctions one time a year. If you miss that auction, no problem. Just wait another 364 days and you can go to the next auction, right? If you're only comfortable investing in your local area and the auctions are not held but once a year, no problem. Just learn to deal with that battle. But if you're looking to get into this business and you want to do it on a fairly regular basis, you're going to need to develop some sort of schedule of auctions, maybe auctions outside of your primary area that you can attend that will fit in with all of your other investment objectives up to this point. Now, once you have all this figured out, we also need to discuss time. How much time do you really have? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can invest as much as I invest if you only have 2 hours a week to put into your tax sale business. It is just not physically possible. The way we sell properties often revolves around the time that we have available to us. Now, many people will want to start part-time and then merge it into a full-time tax sale business. And that's a phenomenal idea. But the way you approach your business when you're just starting and the way you approach it when you're full-time is going to be a little bit different, right? We're talking about online auctions versus in-person auctions, traveling versus hiring local scouts, using realtors versus selling it ourselves. All these are fine ways to operate. They all exist and they're great ways to operate, don't get me wrong. But these are considerations that you must make after you factor in the true amount of time you have, right? If you want to go to every in-person auction, travel across the country going to these auctions, sell everything yourself, you're going to need time. Again, nothing wrong with that. Just factor it in. That way your end result is where you want it out. Now, when we combine all this, your time, your capital, available areas, property types, selling prices, selling methods, we can come up with a niche that works best for us. Obviously, there's a little bit of a personal favoritism that must also be factored in on your part so you don't hate your business. But at the end of the day, if you're able to go through all these factors one by one, you're going to very quickly find a niche that will fit you best. From there, we can work it down even farther if you want to. Maybe you have a skill you could also work to incorporate. If you're a contractor, then go after the ones that perhaps need remodeling that also fits every other characteristic you're looking for, right? If you're a marketing type person, work on the marketing and selling aspect of whatever property type has the best margin for you. If you don't have any skill, then study the market. Figure out what your skills can be. See what selling. Ask yourself, based off everything that we discussed, what property would now be best for you? In the end, you might need to adjust from niche to niche to determine what you actually prefer and is going to be most profitable for you based on your specific objectives, how you want to run your business and your lifestyle, of course. But using the process we discussed on today's episode, you'll certainly be on your way to narrowing down the exact niche that works best for you. So I truly hope that this episode has helped you out. If this episode has helped you out, or any of our other episodes has helped you out in just the slightest bit, it would mean the world to us if you take just a second out of your day to leave some positive feedback on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to us on. And as always, if we can be of any help, we are ready to be of service to you. There are a number of links in today's show notes that can help you get started, including many that are completely free. We also have linked up TaxSellAcademy.com, where you can grab your free copy of the Tax Sell Playbook if you just pay the nominal shipping costs, or on that same website, TaxSellAcademy.com, you can join the Academy for a most comprehensive step-by-step training system that includes all of our tax sell training programs. We will see you next time on the Tax Sell Podcast. Take care and make it a successful day. See ya.